Hello guys, welcome to another video. Today we're going to be looking at HYTALE once again, and unlike the last videos where we were looking at the blog post, today we're going to be looking at a different tab entirely. Today we're going to be looking at the tab known as the game. This tab is basically describing what the game is going to be like, and we're going to go through it and look at a lot of details in this blog, or in this post, because I think that it's actually one of the most important ones for us to look at. So first we're going to go to the adventure page, then the minigame player page, and then the creator page. And these are essentially the three modes. You can kind of think of it as survival from Minecraft, Hypixel server, and creative mode. But all three ramped up into overdrive. These modes are the core game modes of HYTALE, so let's get into the video and look at each of these in detail, starting with adventure mode. So if we scroll down, adventure mode, well, let's look at this first. What is HYTALE? Embark on a journey full of adventure and creativity. HYTALE combines the scope of a sandbox with the depth of a role-playing game, immersing the players in a procedurally generated world where teetering towers and deep dungeons promise rich rewards. HYTALE supports everything from block-by-block construction to script and minigame creation, delivered using easy-to-use and powerful tools. Now, right off the bat, my first question, because I'm stupid, was procedurally generated. I knew that there were multiple types of terrain generation. Some are completely prefabricated, some are hybrid with, like, the shape of the map is the same, but, like, what spawns in each area is different. Some are completely randomly generated. And for those of you who do not know, procedurally generated is that last one. It is completely randomized with the exception of a few blueprints that can spawn, but even those will spawn in random locations. They are just prefabricated blueprints of what should spawn in certain locations-ish. I doubt that they will be exact, and so that's just I wanted to touch on that there because I think that's something that's kind of important to note. So next, let's go to the adventure tab. Adventure. So the first thing to note is that this, as it says up here, it combines the scope of a sandbox game with the depth of a role-playing game, which means that you have the story and rich environments of a ooh, my voice cracked. You have the scope and infinite lands and craftability of a sandbox game, and the story and rich environments and, like, beautiful characters and NPCs and all that kind of stuff of a role-playing game. And it is obviously in a fantasy setting. You can already see down there will be magic from the staff and the potions, and we'll get onto that in either this episode or we'll touch on it this episode, but we'll get into it in a little bit more depth in a separate video, because I do think that they're going to do a blog post on magic. But first, a quest for the ages. As you traverse each generated landscape, you piece together the history of the world through handcrafted adventure scenarios. You might encounter a mage tower, overrun with monsters, descend into an underground cavern, or take on a colossus boss monster. With a wide variety of scenarios available at launch, no two adventures will be the same. Now, this is the interesting thing. Right here, it kind of hints at this, but later we kind of got better confirmation, and I'll show you some pictures later that show this after I show the rest of the adventure page. there will be very, very many dungeon types. Story dungeons are one type, but they are just one type. There will also be portal dungeons and challenge dungeons and in-game dungeons. And the difference between all three of those are quite apparent. Regular dungeons don't even have a portal. Challenge dungeons have portals, are slightly more rare, and we don't really know much about those. Portal dungeons are just portals that lead you to the dungeon, and these are probably going to be a lot more like WoW dungeons, like the Darkheart Thicket from Legion, and story dungeons are obviously the dungeons that are directly part of the story. I would almost say that these sound like they might actually be akin to raids from Legion, but doable with one character, so that's going to be really exciting. I hope that the bosses in this game, here's my little 2 cents, I hope that the bosses in the game have their own sort of mechanics that are, at the very least, puddles on the ground that you have to stay out of, or knockback effects that make you have to deal with mechanics in different ways, or even status effects that will drop an AoE on the ground after they get done being placed, or after the status effect goes off. I think that that would be really cool, and if you had more people in your game, then that would add to even more possible effects. I don't know, I just think it would be really interesting. So, next up, choose your path. HYTALE supports many different playstyles. Whether you think of yourself as a settler, adventurer, or craftsperson, you'll have plenty to do as you advance through the story. Best of all, adventure mode is fully playable in co-op. Gather a party of friends and combine your skills to leave a mark on the world together. There is a lot of interesting things here that they've elaborated on since, so I am going to talk quite a bit on this one topic, so bear with me. First off, HYTALE supports many different playstyles. That's kind of what I was talking about with the magic thing. HYTALE supports you playing however you feel like it. You will be able to play as several different class types. I'm using air quotes there. But it seems like it won't be heavily tied to your character. So once you pick one, you're not necessarily tied down to it. Though it was stated that you're kind of pushed to stay with that class type at the same time. I'm not exactly sure what they meant by that, but your magic is less tied to your character himself and more to the tools and weapons that you're using. This doesn't mean that your character's not improving in power level. Your character is improving in power level, but at the same time, you're also your stuff is getting more powerful as well. Interesting to think about. And as far as like the class archetypes that we know are going to exist, well, we know that there's going to be daggers. That leads itself to possible rogue class. We can see a sword and a shield in this image. That leads me to warrior type class archetype. The staff obviously leads to a wizard, but there's also wands, which kind of leads me to thinking that there will be focus. And while we haven't seen any focuses yet, I can kind of have this image in the back of my mind of a couple of different types of focuses that can both lead to different class archetypes. There's bows, and so that leads to like a ranger archetype, especially if taming is going to be a thing. I don't know, there's maces. Still kind of leads to the warrior archetype though, unless you were just going to use a Unless there's, like, two-handed maces and two-handed swords, which I don't know whether there is or not, but it's interesting to think about at any rate. Very interesting to think about. When it says that, though, it also refers to the actual style of playing the game, not just the combat playstyle, but the playstyle of the game itself. Whether you want to just settle down and make one home and explore, but always come back to that one point, which is kind of what I do. Adventure, so you just go off and go to different places, kind of have a home, but don't stay there too often. Or a craftsperson who wants to build a market capital. You can do any of that as you advance through the story, which is really cool. One thing that I think is interesting, it doesn't kind of say it here, but I wonder if you'll be able to have sort of an economy even if you're in single player, because one of the things that I have to say is one of my big questions of this game, and it's not a make or break thing. I'm going to play this game whether this is the case or not, but I wonder if they will give the AI any sort of, like, trading mechanic. So basically, like, you could have economies set up even in single player as you trade with the people that are around. And as you go, you kind of could become a wandering merchant. I don't know, that's interesting to think about. We'll see if they add that or not when the game goes into beta or when it comes out. Best of all, Adventure Mode is fully playable in co-op. So this is an interesting statement. Not only is it playable in co-op, but it was later elaborated that it's actually going to be balanced for 4 players, but it should be fully playable with 1. Which is interesting. Now, I don't know if they're going to do some sort of scaling mechanic that, like, as the amount of players you have goes up, the game compensates. I don't think that they will, though. At least not super in-depth. I think that single player, you'll probably get a little bit of help in form of being able to, having incentive to do things a little bit differently. What I mean by that is, like, you'll probably have a higher incentive to tame things, or if there's, like, a bodyguard system, you'll probably have NPCs helping you fight in the world, and you'll definitely have a little bit of a bigger incentive to do that than you would if you were playing multiplayer. So I don't know if that's what they're talking about here or not, but it's interesting to think about. Gather a party of friends and combine your skills to leave a mark on the world together. I will be playing this, I'm going to say this flat out, most likely both single player and multiplayer. My family is really looking forward to this game coming out, so I will probably play it single player and multiplayer when it comes out. And I'll also play the minigame mode, but we'll get on to that in a little bit. Encounter dire foes. To shorten this point, this game is going to have creatures anywhere from as small as the palm of your hand to as big as the mountain. That is what I gathered from this blog post, and they will each be very diverse. As we saw in the creatures blog post from the first video I did, creatures have very interesting AI, where they will function differently based on their what creature it is and what kind of creature it is and what its behavior should be. It will behave in a very specific way. Chickens, for example, will behave differently if they have just laid eggs than if they haven't. And animals that are considered prey will probably pack together when they're in an area where their predators are nearby. So that's interesting. Master the wilderness. Put down roots in any of HYTALE's beautiful biomes. Grow your own crops, take care of your pet, tame mounts, and set about building boats and other vehicles to help you explore. This is interesting. Grow your own crops. We figured that would be the case. It was shown in the trailer, obviously, which, I mean, so was everything else I'm about to mention, but that is interesting. Least interesting of everything we see here, though. Take care of your pets. This alludes to taming. This alludes to the game having pets. This doesn't allude to what kind of pets those are, which is one thing I want to mention. We don't know whether these are pets are going to be taken in combat or not. The animals we see over here look very much like they are mount pets. And this looks like a regular pet, so I'm assuming that that's a mount and this is a regular pet. But if this is a regular pet, I doubt it's going to be one that we will have in combat. So I don't know if there's going to be combat pets or not. I assume that there will be, but we will probably learn more about that later. Tame mounts. Well, we just saw that's likely one of the mounts you can tame, though I would assume that there's going to be quite a lot more. Set about building boats and other vehicles to help you explore. We actually saw one of those. One of these is a hot air balloon, but they also said there were boats. And there's going to be at least 2 vehicles, but likely, like they said, mounts will probably be a little bit faster, but other vehicles will exist, but they likely won't be super fast. But they will still be faster, or there will be some benefit to using them as opposed to the just default walking speed, I'm sure. There is loads of environments to explore. That's kind of basically what this is saying. No matter how you explore, you will see lots of different things. Even the underground experience will be different based on where you are, which is something that I've never seen in a different game, at least in a sandbox game like this. So that's really exciting. Okay, so there's a little bit less to say here. I'm going to kind of run through these points a little bit quicker. This is the minigames. If you played minigames on Hypixel, you likely know what the minigames on Hypixel are like. And that is, we've been creating the most popular minigames for over 5 years. Whether you're a current Hypixel player, a returning fan, or entirely new to the world of minigames, HYTALE has decided to offer the best possible experience for both players and creators. Interesting that they have 2 icons that are invisible and they look like they fade out as it goes on, so I'm assuming they're going to continue to add them. But just from these, we can kind of see Bed Wars, Sky Wars. I'm not quite sure what that is. Survival games is what I'm assuming that is. That kind of looks like Simon Says, and that, I'm not sure. Built for competitive play. We've created HYTALE with anti-cheat in mind in order to make sure that multiplayer more fair and fun. This is great news. This means that cheaters probably won't be that much of a problem, at least as much of a problem as they otherwise would. Powerful tools and minigame creators have more freedom than ever. As a minigame creator, you will probably be able to do pretty much whatever you want. You can take control over the camera position, the game assets, and basic mechanics. These kind of go hand in hand. So that's awesome. These two kind of both tell you all the information you need to know about creating minigames. At least a summary of that. Our own custom game engine designed for top range let me restart that. Our own custom game engine designed for top performance while on a wide range of PCs. This is once again very important, because this will allow more people to be able to access the game and, more importantly, access this minigame category. There's also going to be parental controls that will allow you to go pretty in depth with everything. This literally something I covered in a separate video. So if you want to know more about the character creator, I have they have an entire blog post about it, and I have my video. If you go to my channel, you can see my character creation blog post video. Play on our servers or run your own. There will be a wide range of official HYTALE servers. Players are welcome to create their own community servers too. Our server code will be shared source and available to everyone. This means that you can either play on the base game servers or you can run your very own server. Which again, is a very amazing and important decision. Yes, I think the official server is an important thing, but I also think that having creator-made servers or character-made servers are also important. That is, after all, how Hypixel themselves got so big, is from their own server. So I think it's very important that they make that decision to allow other people to get that same experience. Plus, chances are someone will come along, use HYTALE, and create a minigame that no one's ever seen before, and it will probably also get added to the main HYTALE server. So it's just something to think about. Okay, so next up, the creator tools. Made for creators, HYTALE includes a comprehensive collection of tools that grant players more creative power than ever, from model creation and animation to filmmaking, in-game scripting, and of course building with blocks. The model maker is actually available to some extent. I don't know where it is. I have not been able to locate it, but I have seen several people use it. They probably have links in their videos. I know that someone that did it was in the Littlewood, so if you want to go to his channel and look in the description of his video, then it might be there. But I have not actually seen it myself. Now, this is the filmmaking tools. They have tools specifically designed for the machinima makers. You can add custom animations and particles to your character, control keyframes using 3D splines. Okay, I am horrible at reading that. Basically, this will have tools for the machinima and cinema makers, so there you go. Edit everything. We're providing all the same tools that we've developed in order to create the game. So if you can see it, you can edit it. This is really interesting. This means that the prefab tools that they have will be there. That means that the model maker, which we know is going to be there, will be there. That means that the cinema tools that we just saw will be there. That means that even simple details of the game that you might just simply want to change will be changeable. And some of that might be a lot easier than you probably think. Modeling and animation tools. They've done a lot of talking about the HYTALE Model Maker. They have an entire blog post about this that I briefly covered in my first video. So if you'd like to see that, go to my channel. It's the first video I've ever made, and it will be there. And then finally, the in-game scripting. This is really interesting and weird, but there will be in-game scripting, and you can see the effects of your scripting live in-game as you're scripting. So if you are a mod maker, this is a really interesting tool that will give very interesting result. And that is all that I have to cover for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe. If there is not an interesting blog next week, then we will go over media or community. I don't think there's much in the community tabs. Yeah, this is just links to their other stuff. So we'll go over the media tab next time if they don't have another interesting blog. They had a fan art showcase, so I didn't think that was too much to talk about. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed the video, and don't forget to subscribe to join the Nexus, and hit the bell to be notified of new videos every week. And I will talk to you guys next time.